Good morning. How are you today? So good to have you with me here. Feel free to say hi in the chat. Let me know who we got here. Say hello. I just got the coffee on, and it's really good to dial into a little fasting space with you this morning. A regular coffee day for me today. Some days, in a fasting space, most of the time I'm kind of a decaf or half calf. I try not to go full power on the caffeine because I'll get real amped up, and then I can't have as much of it on my whole pot. So, but today I thought, is a regular day, regular coffee. Gonna really dial in on that and enjoy that. Everybody kind of balance that out, the caffeine level, the coffee level, as much as you want. Some days I go just water, honestly, or tea, and it's kind of good for me. Everybody, you do you, to have a caffeine-free space for me, too. Pat is here. Good morning. Enjoying coffee and sunshine. That sounds nice. It's raining here in Madison. It is gloomy sort of day, but a good gloomy. I like a nice rainy fall morning. So. Enjoy the coffee, settle in the morning, and enjoy the fasting space. A fasting space can be very pleasant without caffeine, especially as you get trained to it and you realize, hey, this can be a very calm, centered space, can feel really good. If you're struggling with that, though, coffee, a big fasting aid, help you through a space, and then just if you enjoy it anyway. A lot of people, who are not familiar with fasting, enjoy just getting up and having a coffee. Very normal thing to do. Don't even call it fasting. Don't even realize, I'm giving this gift to my body of this food-free space, and it's just kind of part of a routine. So that's kind of the idea that you want to get to with fasting in general. I think an analogy I used yesterday for our fasting practice into 2026 was like a sailboat, which I really liked. Sailboat's great. Doesn't take any gasoline unless you're, you're a modern sailboat in a harbor. They got a little engine to get them out into sea, okay? But the big idea of the sailboat, the wind is blowing anyway, and then you just align yourself with that sail. And it can take you all over the world. It could take you with the right vessel. And so as we are sailing on toward 2026, floating through time, there's one way I like to describe it. We're floating through time together. If we are floating through this space, the thing I like about floating doesn't take work, right? If you're floating in the boat, it doesn't take a lot of work. Fasting is like our chosen vessel to float through it. Different ways to think about it. I mean, it's mental work. You have to make a decision to choose fasting. You say, hey, I'm going to choose to give my body this food-free space. And sometimes we say, okay, it's a battle. We can use that sort of imagery with food. We're battling food cravings. You say anything that you can struggle with. Can it be a struggle to eat healthy food? Can it be a struggle to get exercise in? Yes. Can it be a struggle to practice fasting? I would say honestly, yes. I think that it can be. But I would say with all these things, and especially with fasting, the big idea that I want to share with you is not to struggle with it. If we're struggling with fasting, that could be very stressful. If we're struggling with hunger, we say, oh, this is not making my life better. This is a place where I'm like, oh, I feel hungry. I feel unwell. I always tell people, I want you to step back from that sort of space. Be better, in my view, for someone to not practice fasting for a while and just to think about it and try to get the mindset dialed in. To say, okay, hunger isn't as bad as we thought it is. Hunger doesn't necessarily mean anything bad is happening in the body. This is the hunger that I'm talking about as like a first world problem, mind you, not true hunger. People in this great world of abundance, when I think of hunger, I think of people who literally do not have enough to eat. And especially when we frame it that way, and to think about, okay, where are we at, and if we are not struggling with true poverty and starvation and true hunger, okay, that can help to also frame it, okay? When we're just talking about voluntarily saying, normally I would eat 3 full big meals in a day, I'm going to dial that back to 2 or 1, give the body a space so that we can have like really beneficial things going on, autophagy, these sort of things, cleansing of the body, remove toxins, remove excess, remove dysfunctional proteins, replace them with healthy, functional things. Okay, that's all really positive. And so the barrier to entry in that space is to say, well, I feel a little hungry sometimes. And then we reframe that. Say, okay, this feeling that we're feeling, okay, when we're feeling hungry, that's the feeling of the body coming back into balance. And so when we can reframe it like that, that is how we can start floating through that space, not struggling through it, not forcing anything that feels difficult, being open to the experience. That's what we want more than anything. Floating in that sort of mindset. So like I was saying, somebody gets up in the morning, has a coffee. They don't know anything about fasting. They just say, hey, it feels good to just have a coffee. I don't feel like eating right away. I feel like eating a little bit later than I get hungry, especially if I have a coffee, get through that space. If we can get into that sort of groove in our whole fasting experience, however long we're doing it, where, we don't even really have to think about it that much. That's the ideal scenario. We get through our day and we're like, I didn't eat. And then, maybe we're having a dinner meal, or maybe we're having our lunch dinner, whatever it is. But it becomes less about something formalized and just more of a routine, more of a lifestyle, fades into the background, not something that we have to be like really dedicating a lot of energy to. I was talking yesterday with a little stone about, okay, can a stone or some sort of physical object help keep a health process top of mind? So we get multiple perspectives from each of these things. That can be very helpful. Also, if you're in a great groove with something, like it can fade into the background. And as long as you're moving in the right direction, then that can be also completely okay. Today, the title, The Vessel and the Filter. I'm going to read a little excerpt for you from this book, which I did a few months ago. The Creative Act, A Way of Being by Rick Rubin. I love this book. This book has been very insightful to me. I read it, I don't know if it was even a couple years ago. The book is an artistic book about creating. That might be music. That might be, some type of art, sculpture, painting, drawing, stuff like that. But even as I was reading through it back then, so many of the analogies, perspectives, thoughts, I was like, this to me is like a weight loss book, because it's getting so dialed into the process of how do we create an experience? How do we create something good and positive and new? Jen is here. Good morning. So nice to have you here. I hope you're doing well today. How do we create something good and positive? That's an artistic process, or it could be. If you think from the perspective of an artist, an artist is trying to bring something into the world that is new, that hasn't existed before. And I really love the perspective. I don't know if I got it from this book, if it was in the book or just where it came from. But like, okay, if we're heading into the future. If we're using our analogy of the sailboat, like we're sailing in toward 2026. We've never been there before, right? There's never been a version of us in 2026. And what are we going to look like then, you know? What kind of attitudes are we going to be having, and what thoughts are we thinking, and what are we going to be experiencing? We have, you know how on a sailboat, it's like got the rudder, it steers it, so you're at the back of the boat, you turn the thing, and then, you know, it's steering. Tiny little course correction, you know, way back, take you in a totally different space. And so, you know, most people dialing in on a health process at New Year's, right? After the holidays, and they're trying to recover or something. And so here we're way out ahead. We got the whole season here in front of us. And so this is really the time to set our course and create the type of experience that we want to be having into 2026. When you approach it like that, way out ahead, very proactive, then you open up every best case scenario, which is especially that we want to enjoy the holidays. So I love the holidays. Holidays, my favorite time of year, Thanksgiving, Christmas, the whole season, all this sort of stuff. Whatever holidays are your things, I want you to be able to enjoy them. And a big part of enjoying holidays is being able to dial in with good food, with friends and family, and enjoy yourself. And this is like one of the true, you know, purposes of food, right? Food got many purposes. Bringing nourishment and health into the body, of course, a primary function of food. But, you know, helping build bonds and social connections is like a huge function of food. We're not going to get together at the holidays and say, let's like have a big fasting party and we'll all get together and like, you know, I mean, probably someone could do it, but you would have to have like a whole family totally dialed in, you know. Not practical, I say, but maybe. Never say never. Maybe on this one I would say never, though. It's not going to happen in my family. Food is how we, you know, connect with friends and family. So right now we want to be planning out, what does the fall look like, okay? What does our holiday season look like? What are the meals we want to have? Like, what will be really the true essential things that bring joy, meaning, value to life and help us have a beautiful experience connecting with friends and family. I want everybody to have that. And, you know, here we're on a fasting channel, fasting about refraining from eating, but not all the time, right? Fasting is not for the holiday. Everything needs balance. Fasting is about balance, right? If fasting is unbalanced, it becomes not fasting in my view, you know? Then we're into something, you know, and anything can be taken to an extreme, right? Fasting in an extreme, which can be different for different people, right? There's extended fasting, which can bring great health, right? But very intense. And for some person is too much, and for a certain time is too much and it's not the right time, right? Everything has a season, right? So like a time for eating, a time for a celebration, and then balance it out. That's the balance with the fasting. So different ways to balance it out. We'll talk about that so much more as we head to the holidays. I want to get to this passage before I talk on something else. What I'm trying to say is we create our experience. We want to be focusing on creating this experience. And now that we're so many days out, right, from the holidays, we can be taking tiny steps. We don't have to be working too hard or stressing about it. Like that rudder, little course corrections now, helping us get on a really great track. And then I think the count now, 77 days till 2026. And so that's a 77 steps still that we can be taking to get us lined up in a really great space. Okay, So this chapter, the vessel and the filter, we're dialing in. Remember, so this book was not written to a weight loss audience, okay? It was written to an artist. But start thinking of yourself as an artist of your life. You're going to be creating something new, the new version of you, right? The new version of me. I'm doing it too. We're all going to be new heading into 2026, and we're going to be experiencing something beautiful, which is the healthiest possible version of ourselves that we can have given the experience that we're in, right? We can't change the past. We have to play the hand that we're dealt. We all have specific health situations, that are the reality, right? But within the constraints of what we have, we're going to paint a new picture, right? We're going to weave in some wonderful experiences where we do the best with what we have. Okay, here we go. Each of us has a container within, and it is constantly being filled with data. This is like, just think, we were talking yesterday about the digital world, right? Like all this information just streaming at us. This container holds the sum total of our thoughts, our feelings, our dreams, and our experiences of the world. Let's call this the vessel, all right? So we've got the vessel inside of us. And I just think, hearing that already, just think of that collection. Every thought, feeling, dream, and experience that you have. I mean, that's a powerful space. It's all in there somewhere, right? But I don't think we spend a lot of time thinking about that. And so already, you see, this sort of idea is really connecting us into a very emotional space, right? Food, eating, so emotional. We're talking about that with the holidays, right? And that's not a bad thing, right? It can be a very, very good and beautiful thing. Many of our most beautiful experiences in life centered around food, but then also it can be something that we struggle with, and we have to put it in a perspective. And so just recognizing there's a vessel, all right, that the author is describing here, where this emotional center and our whole experience is sitting. We should be conscious of that. We should be respecting and thinking about that. Information does not enter the vessel directly like rain filling a barrel. Okay, it's not just flowing in. It is filtered in a unique way for each of us. The vessel has a filter. Not everything makes it through the filter. And what does get through the filter does not always do so faithfully. Isn't that the case? Okay, that's showing, okay, we have biases, we have perspectives, things are happening in the world, information is coming to us, but not everything that comes to us, becomes really a part of our core experience. What's in the vessel right now, thoughts, feelings, dreams, experiences, it's just a part of what has happened to us. Has been filtered through our experience and perception. We each have our own method of reducing source. So when I talked through this book in months ago, when I read some of the chapters, so he's referring to source as like external knowledge, that everything outside of ourselves might be the universe. Some people would interpret that spiritually, like God or something like that. It's just knowledge that is outside of ourselves, recognizing we are limited creatures. We do not understand the totality of reality, and there is a lot of knowledge outside of ourselves that we're looking for. So knowledge is coming toward us. We have our method of reducing this. That's our filter, right? Our memory space is limited. Our senses can misperceive data. And our minds do not have the processing power to take in all the information that is surrounding us. Our senses would be overwhelmed by light, color, sound, smell. We would not be able to distinguish one thing from another. So we filter it. I think this is probably has always been true, right? Gotta silence that. This has probably always been true of people, right? On some level, like we filter everything, even if we're out in nature without one of these obnoxious things. Silence. But how much more now that we're here in this modern world with all the distractions, right? All the things constantly like coming at us. We have to filter so much. And what are we filtering and how does this work? So many different perspectives. Just to dial this into a weight loss space can be so overwhelming. So many different diets, so many different perspectives, so many different people telling us, so this is the way, oh, this is the way. Okay, like how do you manage it? We have to filter it somehow, right? To navigate our way through this immense world of data, we learn early in life to focus on the information that appears essential or of a particular interest, and then we tune out the rest, right? So this is like a huge process that we do. As an artist, we seek to restore a childlike perception, a more innocent state of wonder and appreciation, not tethered to utility or survival. So to me, and this is something that I really like, this is like having a fresh perspective on everything, opening up our mind, having a childlike perspective, meaning we think of, how many years have we all been walking along on this planet? How many biases and perspectives and grooves have we gotten in that are no longer serving us? And this is showing us right here. Take a look at our filter, right? Take a look at the vessel, right? What are the perspectives and the experiences that we've accumulated in the vessel? And how's this filter working, And is it keeping us from seeing things in a fresh, new perspective? Such a beautiful, powerful insight if we're trying to set a new course, right? If we're gonna, we want to be new in 2026, right? And we're trying to get way out in front. So if we want to be new in 2026, this is the type of thing that we should be thinking about. The filter. What are we filling our vessel with? And can we open our mind to doing things a little differently going forward? To set sail, moving on, letting go of some things from the past so that we can open up space for something new and better. That was something I was really dialing in with a few weeks ago. I read, you have to be willing to let go of something good in order to make room for something better. Our filter inevitably reduces source intelligence by interpreting the data that arrives instead of just letting it pass freely. As the vessel fills with recast fragments, relationships are created with the material that's already collected. And these relationships produce beliefs and stories. They may be about who we are, about the people around us, about the nature of the world we live in, and eventually these stories coalesce into our worldview. Things in the vessel affecting the things that are coming in. This is how we interpret things in a worldview. This is why it can be so difficult to change, because our history shapes how we perceive things. And so then we perceive something new, but then we interpret it in the context of everything we already know. So this is saying the stories that we tell ourselves, we can re-examine this whole story about who we are, because how we interpret who we are is a big part of determining who we will be. If we want to be something different, something new in the future, might be helpful to re-examine in the present. Who are we? What is true about ourselves and what we're doing? We want to hold these stories softly and find space for the vast amount of information that doesn't fit easily within the limits of our beliefs. The more raw data we can take in, and the less we shape it, the closer we can get to nature. So I was reflecting on that yesterday, with the stone, right? It's the little beautiful stone. This is my little bit of nature that I bring into my home with me here. The closer we get to nature, this is how I'm feeling today. The closer we're getting, to things that are true and wholesome and good. We are nature. Our bodies are nature. We're just part of that. And we have removed ourselves from natural cycles. And in my view, medically, as much as anything, a large measure of the dishealth that we all experience is because we've removed ourselves from natural cycles that bring health and wholeness to the body. And, I can envision a conversation, a dialogue with, for example, an infectious disease doctor who would push back and say, look, death is a natural cycle, they would say, and infection is something that happens so often. We got antibiotics, we got all of this, and I'm all on board with antibiotics and modern science, and but also every modern scientific advancement, there's no cure for death. And I've had this sort of dialogue with people so often. And yes, we have incredible technology that allows people to flourish in ways, but we create this mindset that we're above it and that we've conquered it. And this is a lot of people's, I see writing online now that all this AI is gonna, certain people want to merge with machines in the future and then we'll be immortal. This is like a lot of a view that is going through the medical system about where we're going medically, which I don't see that that's true. So I want every good thing that supports health. Maybe we push back against some natural cycles for a while, say we don't have to just allow the body to have an infection. If we can develop something against it, I'm all for that. But death also is a natural cycle. We need to stop being afraid of it, and we need to recognize that it is part of it, I think, and that that is part of nature. And it's not even unhealthy. The more I think about it, it's not even unhealthy. That's part of the world. Okay. We can think of the creative act as taking the sum of our vessel's contents as potential material, selecting for elements that seem useful or significant, and then representing them. This is the artistic process he's describing. So this is also the process then mirroring as we're creating our life and experience, our health experience going forward. We're ultimately going to draw from our vessel, right? From our experiences. We're going to take our knowledge, our experience, our beliefs, our hopes, our dreams, and we are going to channel that out into the world in the most beautiful and powerful way that we can to manifest our creation of health, right? An artist going to take all of that and channel it into a painting on a canvas, channel it into a sculpture, right? Channel it into a beautiful song, okay? We're trying to take that creative process and channel it out into the world through an expression of health. It's like a living piece of artwork. I love that idea, all right? That we are heading out into the world as a being of health, meaning we are being healthy, and we are a being that is healthy. and we are sculpting and creating this work of art, our physical body that contains our mental well-being also, into the most healthy version possible. Like, what a beautiful thing to create. If you could create that, what is the healthiest version of yourself that you can possibly get to by January of 2026? Can you see it? You know, what would it look like? What is that version of yourself experiencing, and what are they doing, and what does their daily life look like? What are the habits that they've developed over the last few months that have served them so well? And what would that future version of yourself say to the current version of yourself right now to give you encouragement? What would be the encouraging word that they would tell you? What would they say thank you to you for? Okay? January 1st, 2026, we're having a big party, and they call back in time 78 days before and say, hey, thanks for dialing in on a fasting process and opening up the space, choosing the healthiest foods, making a plan. We had a great holiday and we stayed on track with the health. You really crushed it. You know what I mean? They'd be very grateful. The source is drawn through us. It can be made into books, movies, buildings, paintings, meals, businesses, whatever project we embark on. I add, our health project, our beautiful creation of health. That's the project that I say, embark on that. If we choose to share what we make, our work can recirculate and become source material for others, okay? And this is the beautiful process. When we choose to make our creation, this beautiful expression of health, that can become inspiring for other people to get healthy. This is how we turn the ship around, right? Is we each of us develop the most positive health expression that we can and use it to help our fellow human beings who are struggling, who need a hand up. We say, hey, look, it's very difficult in the modern world to be healthy. It is. Like, you really have to be very, very conscientious to do it. And it's not clear to people how to do that. I really think it is. I think most people trying to be healthy, but it's hard, and we don't exactly know the way. And so it's like we need the little, natural compass, with the little thing. We need help to stay on the path. The path, right? There's a stripe in the center. How do you stay on the path? We need to develop the systems and practices. And one of the best ways to do it, right, is to have thoughtful, friendly people in our community, right, to do it. And I hope we can develop good community here, people supporting each other, walking forward on the path. And that is a beautiful process. Source makes things available. The filter distills. The vessel receives. Often this happens beyond our control. It is helpful to know that this default system can be bypassed. With training, we can improve our interface with Source, radically expand the vessel's ability to receive. And this is the end of it, which I thought is most beautiful. Changing the instrument is not always the easiest way to change the sound of the music, but it can be the most powerful. So changing the instrument, we're talking about our artistic expression of health heading into 2026. Changing the instrument. If we're singing a song, right? Our artistic expression is like a song, right? A metaphorical song. How do we change the instrument? That's like changing ourselves. This is what we're trying to do, right? If we're trying to lose weight, if we're trying to move toward health, is about changing ourselves in some way. Change for the better. Want to change our life. Many times we think about changing our external circumstances, such as, well, I'm going to get some new clothes. I'm going to move. I'm going to get a new job. I'm going to do these things. Okay, this is challenging us. Can we change our own physical selves, like our actual body, the instrument? Change the instrument, the most powerful way to change the sound of the music. We want to change the sound of the music. Change ourselves. You can do it. It wasn't impossible like you thought it was, says the future self. I love that. Yeah, that is so good. So many times we think something is impossible until we actually see somebody do it. Right? I read this really great book that my friend gave me called Endure, and is a running book. Running and all kinds of activity, and about all these things that people never thought could be done that then were done. Nobody ever thought people could run a mile faster than, what it was, 4 minutes or whatever, and then somebody did it, and then everybody can do it. This is what the story is telling us here. That we have biases. That's the filter. Filter is not letting in things but into the vessel, into our core experience. That limits what we think is possible. And that is making our experience smaller. So this is the bridge with fasting, right? To me, fasting is about openness. We're trying to have openness in our life, being open in so many ways. Fasting, physical openness of the body without food, opening up the ability of the body to access stored energy and these deep pathways of health and healing in the body. Okay, but it's mirroring, or it can mirror, or we can allow it to mirror the ability to open up more broadly in our life to the experience of what is possible. Like Pat's saying, not impossible like you thought it was, right? We have these preconceived notions of what we think the future is going to look like. And in large measure, that shapes our present experience of it, and it shapes our actions, and we end up creating that vision that we see. This is why visioning and thinking out of the box and trying to picture something different is so powerful. Because when we open our mind to it and realize that actually the future could be quite a bit different than the past, we change the instrument, like the book is saying. We change our way of being. This is what the book is about. The creative act is a way of being. We start being differently. That is turning the rudder on the sailboat, and we're not struggling, and we let that breeze carry us in a new direction. Love that. My thoughts of the day from this book. Really nice to have you all with me. I hope you have a beautiful day. 77 steps left. Another step today. I give you great encouragement for the day, whatever you are focusing on in health. I hope that you crush it. I hope you have an excellent experience. If you're working through a fasting space, I hope that is pleasant, and think of that as like you're burning through energy, but you're burning through stress. You're stealing your resolve and settling into this space, floating on toward 2026. I hope you have a great day. I will be back tomorrow, and we will keep our stepping forward into the future together. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you.